Welcome. In this video, I'm going to talk about 3 likely bottoms for Bitcoin in this cycle. But before I do that, I want to make sure you know that I am not a financial advisor. Before you make any investments or anything like that, you should seek professional guidance and do your own due diligence. So let's look at the charts real quick and see what's going on in the markets. Okay, right now, Bitcoin is currently at $38,989. In the last 24 hours, 0.1% change. So throughout the whole market, in the top 10, there hasn't been a lot of movement, not too much price action going on in the last 24 hours. But let's talk about the Bitcoin bottom so people could figure out when they should jump into the market. If you've been sitting on the sidelines and you've been waiting to purchase Bitcoin. So let's look at the charts and see when a good time to buy is. All right, so like I said, Bitcoin is currently at $38,933. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel. And I'm going to give you 3 prices that I think Bitcoin is going to bottom at. And one of them is probably going to be correct. So just using support and resistance, let's look at some decent support that Bitcoin has coming up. So if it goes down to 35,000 in that price range, it has a decent amount of support. So best case scenario, Bitcoin hits that $35,000, $36,000 range and goes up, and everything's going to be good, all good. I don't think that's the likelihood of what's going to happen because everything that's going on with Ukraine, everything that's going on with the Fed, everything that's going on with inflation, you know, it's hard for me to see that 35,000 is going to be the bottom for Bitcoin. But that is one possibility. I hope it turns out that way, but I'm not sure how likely that is. Now let's go to my second bottom that I think is a little more likely. For this one, I'm going to use the Bitcoin log growth curves indicator. And looking at this one, this bottom portion, this bottom line on this indicator is very important because if we look through the history of Bitcoin, it seems to always bottom out at the bottom line. So back in 2020, it hit it. It actually went below it, but this was the pandemic, so I don't really count that. Back in 2019, it hit it and used it as support, went up from there. Let's go back further. Back in 2016 in May, in 2015, it used it as support and went up from there. Back in 2012, in October of 2012, May of 2012, and around in 2011, it touched the bottom. So Bitcoin has a history of hitting the bottom of this indicator. And there's a possibility it's going to come back to it in this market cycle. And this is currently at $30,000. So my second Bitcoin bottom is at $30,000. So how much of a decrease is that from current levels? That is a 19% drawdown from what we're at right now. Not nothing too major. All right, now this is kind of the worst case scenario. In my opinion, this is the worst case scenario Bitcoin bottom for this market cycle. It actually could go lower, like Bitcoin. Never underestimate Bitcoin. If you learn anything about Bitcoin, never underestimate it. It'll break your heart every time. So I've heard people saying that, oh, Bitcoin could go down to 20,000. It could go down to 12,000. It could go down to 10,000. Well, the people who are saying 20,000, they actually have some decent reasoning behind it. And let's look at the charts, and I'm going to bring up the 200-week moving average. So a lot of the people who are saying that Bitcoin is going to go down to 20,000 is because of 200-week moving average, which is currently at, what do you know, 20,000. So why is the 200-week moving average so important? Well, let's look at the history. Well, it touched it here during the pandemic. Let's not count that. That's, I don't think those type of occurrences are going to be happening a lot. But back in 2018, it bottomed out at the 200-week moving average. Okay, so that's one time. Back in 2015, it bottomed out when it actually pierced the 200-week moving average, and it actually did it twice in 2015. And it's the 200-week moving average, so it doesn't go back all the way to the very, very beginning of Bitcoin. So 1, 2, 3, 4, well, 3 times, if you're not counting the pandemic, it went down to the 200-week moving average. So there's some historic reasoning behind people thinking that it's going to go down to 20,000, which will make it hit the 200-week moving average. But my argument against those people, let me see, from hosting battles, hosting crypto, my man is a lesson. Shout out to my guy in the comments, Dreezy. Shout out to you. All right, check this out. My reasoning why I don't think it's going to go down to 20,000, because basically for it to go down to 20,000, it would have to basically come back to this previous all-time high of 19,000. So let's say that's roughly the same price range, right? Okay, well, let's see if any other times when Bitcoin bottomed out, did it go down to the previous all-time high? Well, right here it bottomed out. The previous all-time high from that cycle was right here. So the previous all-time high was 1,200. It bottomed out at 3,000. So no, it didn't go back to the previous all-time high. And actually, this is the only time it actually did. This was the previous all-time high, but this is back in 2013. So the reliability on relying on a Bitcoin chart from 2013 is not that strong. So the likelihood that Bitcoin is going to go back and retrace to 20,000, which would basically bring it down to its previous all-time high, which was at 19,000 back in 2017. The recent history of Bitcoin shows that that's not going to happen. So I think a safe estimate, like I'm not saying that any of these prices that I gave you reasoning behind Bitcoin going down to 30,000 and climbing up from there. I gave you reasons why Bitcoin could hit 30,000 and climb up from there. And I hit reasons why Bitcoin could hit 20,000 and go up from there. $36,000. I don't think that's that likely. I think it's going to go a little further than that. Every time Bitcoin's bottomed out, it hurt people. You know, I don't think 36,000 is going to hurt people. I don't think the market's going to see a big capitulation at $36,000. So I think somewhere between around 30,000 is a more likely. A little up from 30,000 or a little lower than 30,000. Between 30,000 and 20,000, there's a decent possibility of that happening. But I'm sticking to around 30,000. If Bitcoin hits around 30,000, I'm definitely buying. And if it goes lower than that, I'm just going to be buying more. So that's it for this video. Let me know in the comments if you think any of my Bitcoin bottoms that I expressed in this video, which one you think is more likely to happen. Again, the prices that I mentioned were 36,000, 30,000, and 20,000. Let me know which one you think it will hit. Have a blessed day. Make sure you like, subscribe to the channel. I'll catch you in the next video. Peace.